as we're sitting here, we all know we probably have hundreds of millions of nerves in our digestive system talking to our brain. And we call that sometimes our gut feeling. And scientists call that, I learned this, the enteric nervous system. And scientists are showing that this enteric nervous system particularly plays a role in with those with type 2 diabetics. It can make your blood sugar go up or down. It can affect your mood, your energy, or your immune response. So Dr. Saunders is here today to talk about this gut-brain connection. So, Dr. Saunders, let me get to my first question that I have ready. Okay. So people have this gut feeling their whole life, but science is telling us now that this is actually true. We need to pay attention to our gut feeling. For someone sitting at home who has type 2 diabetes or struggling with blood sugar, what is the single most important thing they need to understand about the connection between the gut and the rest of their health?
Okay, so think about your intestines as the interface with the world. And on the one hand, you can say, yeah, your skin is the interface with the world, or your eyeballs are the interface with the world. But your gut is really the internal interface with the world. It's how you intrinsically interface with the world. Why? Well, because you're eating stuff. What the stuff you're eating is grown in the soil, or it's animals, or you're eating dead things. You're eating things, and those things are supposed to give you nourishment. They're supposed to help you to function. They give you energy. They help you to remake your body. The cells on your skin. My son was telling me just the other day that your skin is replaced in your lifetime 1,000 times, like completely replaced. So all of that is happening for a reason, and that's from you're taking food in, and that food, you think like you are what you eat, right? Well, that's what we always say. You are what you eat. But that's not quite the way it goes, because what ends up happening is, let's say you eat some protein. Doesn't matter what kind of protein. It's not that you are made of that protein. What happens is that protein is broken down into individual amino acids. Like they separate every single one of them so that you don't have any amino acids, or you don't have any proteins from a cow in your body. None, zero, none. And so because every single amino acid is broken off, and then every protein you have in your body is uniquely yours.
Mm.
And by uniquely yours, that means uniquely. You are the only one in the whole world with that set of proteins that you have. And you have made every single one, from every hair on your head to your toenails coming out. Those are all made of protein, and they are from eating protein and taking the individual amino acids. So what happens if you don't get enough of something? Then things just don't work. Some people can make they can use something else. They can substitute one amino acid for another one, for example. But it's still not the same. It's still not complete. It's still not exact. It's still not exactly right. So what you eat is very important in how you feel, in what you are, in how you're able to do things, in how you think. And so, talking about the gut-brain connection, your gut has to absorb nutrients. The brain is the canary in the coal mine. Anything that's wrong, your brain's going to know it first. So if there's inflammation, the brain's going to know it. And so you have to make anti-inflammatories in your intestines. How do you do that? Well, number one, you avoid sugar. Sugar causes inflammation. And so you're going to have more inflammation. You're not going to absorb things as well, just because you have sugar. If you eat sugar with something like divalent cations, like calcium, for example, you actually absorb less of the calcium. because of the sucrose that you're eating. That you don't want to mix certain things. You don't want to mix protein or fat and carbohydrates together. That's not a good combination. The fat makes you resistant to insulin, and the carbohydrates cause more insulin to be created. So now you have more insulin and you're resistant to it. So that creates more insulin resistance. There have been studies on people with diabetes. If they cut out fat and they live on sugar stuff, like all they're eating, like 10 pounds of fruit a day, they do better than people who eat a variety and mix their carbohydrates and fats. Um, and then if you think about what you're eating is not just feeding your cells and making your proteins in your fingernails and everything, you're feeding billions, trillions of bacteria that are in your gut. You have this whole world of bacteria in your gut, and they are all, they have their place, they have their friends, and they have their enemies. The enemies are fighting against, and that's all going on inside your large bowel. And there's viruses in there that attack some of the bacteria. It's really an amazing world that's going on inside your colon. So, what are you? Well, you're the God that's feeding all these bacteria. You know, you're providing for your children, your bacteria in your intestines. And what do you provide for them? Well, if you give them good food and you feed the good ones, then you're going to have low inflammation because if you're getting good prebiotics, so Cher was talking about the healthy gut restore. What is that? Well, it's got probiotics, which is the good kind of bacteria, but then it's also got prebiotics, which is the what the good bacteria eat. So you're feeding them. And if you're feeding them only junk food, if you're getting high sugars, starches, you're getting chemicals in there, and protein, and you're not getting the fiber. How much fiber should a person eat to feed their bacteria in their gut? Well, 40 grams a day is a good idea, and most Americans don't even get a fourth of that. And so you're not getting the prebiotics into your gut to make the good bacteria. Why? Well, so that you can have bacteria that make anti-inflammatory things. You'll absorb nutrients better. You make a lot of nutrients in your large intestine. The bacteria make them, but they won't make them if you have the wrong kind of bacteria or if you're not feeding them properly. So they need to be fed. And here's a really interesting thing is we were taught in medical school that the brain has a blood-brain barrier and the blood, and these are sterile. There's no bacteria in them. Well, that's completely wrong. That's not even true. There are certain types of bacteria that are found all over your body, and they come from your colon primarily. And if you have bad colon bacteria, then you're going to tend to get infections more easily. You're going to get urinary tract infections. Where do urinary tract infections come from? The colon. Those are all colon bacteria that cause that. And so, what's growing in your colon is going to determine what kinds of bacteria you have. If you have the good ones, then they're going to help all of your tissues from your brain all the way down, everything. If not, then they're going to cause inflammation. So the gut is so much what you're feeding, what you're putting into your mouth is so much a part of your body. You know, people tell you, oh, just don't eat toxins, don't eat BPA, don't drink water out of a plastic bottle. I'm amazed at how many people will say, well, I'm not going to drink water out of a plastic bottle because it might have BPA in it. But I'll go to a fast food joint and get a bunch of junk food
Popeyes.
and get toxic on that and not even think twice about it. Or drink energy drinks or stuff like that. And you know what? That doesn't help. That's not good.
Now, how does this play effect into those with type 2 diabetics?
Okay, right. We can get to that. Okay, so if you have type 2, then your cells are full of sugar. They are filled up to the brim. I have all the sugar I can possibly handle, and I'm shutting down all of the insulin receptors that bring sugar, glucose into the cell. We're done. So that's called insulin resistance, right? Because it's not insulin can't bring it into the cell anymore because the cells aren't making any insulin receptors. So that happens because of diet. Why do they fill up? Because of what you're eating. So if you're eating sugar, you're going to get sugar in the cells. If you're eating too much sugar, you're going to get too much sugar in the cells. And at some point, you're going to get insulin resistance, and that's the cause of type 2 diabetes.
Okay, so you said that the gut is like an interface and it's a whole new world. I love that analogy because you were gone, I think in France last week.
Mhm.
I was in the Caribbean and I was doing snorkeling and it's a whole new world under the water.
Ah,
And I
yeah.
was thinking it's a whole new different world in the gut. Like it'd be fun to
Mhm.
take a snorkel and go down there, but that's maybe a bad analogy.
Some people do.
Yeah. So, how would you describe the enteric? Is that a nervous system to someone who's never heard about it before?
Okay. So now the nervous system. Um, it is a separate system, but it's connected. You have to think about the intestines and what they have to do. They have to digest and absorb nutrients to get everything into your body. And it is a so detailed. It's amazing. There are sensors for every nutrient you need,
Mm,
every one you need. So I'll give you an example. In the end of your small intestine, there's an 18-inch area, and it is the only place you can absorb vitamin B12.
mm.
You can't absorb it anywhere else. So what do they have in there? They have sensors for vitamin B12, and they're like taste buds. And they go, I taste vitamin B12. And so what it does is the nervous system is doing this. It's pushing the food through and then pushing it back and then pushing it through and then pushing it back and then pushing it through in this 18 inches, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth until the taster goes, no, I don't taste any vitamin B12 here. And then it moves it on down into the colon. Isn't
That's
that amazing?
so I think of a cow stomach when it go a cow stomachs that's going back and forth, but literally our intestines are just moving the food around.
Yeah. Yeah.
And are there
And
so there B12 receptors, are there receptors for every single other essential nutrient out there?
not receptors in the neurological sense, like
Okay.
with the B12 receptors, but there are mechanisms for absorption of each one. So when they get, for example, amino acids, there are certain types of amino acids that this one receptor can do these four amino acids. So if you eat those four together, you'll get some of them, but you're going to miss some of the other ones. So they compete for absorption. So a lot of times, if you look at amino acids, it'll say, if you're taking a supplement of amino acid, it'll say, take this on an empty stomach. Why? Well, so you don't compete with whatever else is in there for absorption. Sugars like sucrose can inhibit the absorption of amino acids. So it's not always a nervous system like taste buds, like saying, I detect this. Sometimes it's the mechanism of absorption where the amino acid binds to a receptor, and then those receptors are saying, oh, we still have more of that. And then it'll still move through more slowly in that area or go back and forth until those are all gone and until the receptors don't have any more, and then they'll move on down. But it's an intelligent system.
Mhm.
And that's the thing about it. They say, well, it's like a separate brain. It is. And so people take like serotonin reuptake inhibitors to help their depression in their brain. And what they don't know is that there are more serotonin receptors in their intestines than there are in their brain. Why? Because the serotonin, that's where you get the feeling. I have a gut feeling, or or you know what? If you read the Bible, how many times does it say, "My bowels are filled with compassion," or his bowels had mercy, or something like that? Why bowels? I mean, where does that come from? Well, there's actually something to that, where you actually have most of those serotonin receptors, most of that feeling does come from the nervous system that's in your intestines. It's just really fascinating. And when you have inflamed intestines, you don't feel good. And it's
Mm.
not a brain problem, it's an intestinal problem. Now, there's a connection, a nervous system connection, a direct wire called the vagus nerve that goes from your brain to your so it's like your brain and your gut and your brain and your head have this wire that connects them, and that's called the vagus nerve. Fascinating. It is so interesting. And so people go, I have a gut feeling, and the gut tells the brain. Or you get really anxious about something and your stomach starts hurting.
Mm.
And you can't eat anything. You go, oh, I'm not hungry. I can't eat anything because I'm so nervous. That because of that. Also, they found that there are certain people who have diabetes only because the vagus nerve from the brain has shut off the pancreas, shut it down completely. And when they put a nerve block on the vagus nerve, the pancreas starts working perfectly.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Okay, so going back to the serotonin, well, I have a couple questions about the gut-brain connection. Which way does it flow? But then if you people, someone who's depressed, they don't have enough serotonin, they're taking something in there to increase it in your head. What do you do about getting better serotonin in your gut? Is it just getting rid of the inflammation, or can you feed it specific things to help produce the serotonin in the gut?
Oh, that's a great question. Okay, you can feed it. You can feed it good things that will improve the serotonin in the gut. So there's something called tryptophan, which is an amino acid found in high levels in certain things. Like milk is really good with tryptophan. And after turkey dinner, when you're sitting around going, you're feeling good, that's usually ascribed to tryptophan because it's made into serotonin, which is made into melatonin. So the serotonin makes you feel good, and the melatonin helps you sleep. And so if you've ever, like in the old days, they used to say, well, if you can't sleep, just get up and have some milk and cookies. Why milk and cookies? Okay, so this is actually really interesting. The milk has tryptophan in it, but the tryptophan is not well absorbed with the other amino acids. But if you have cookies with it, the sucrose blocks the other amino acids, so your tryptophan is absorbed better.
All right, here we have it. A doctor prescribing milk and cookies for bed before bed at night.
Hey,
That's
hey,
that's how did they know that? It just worked.
it just worked. Yeah,
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 just
yeah.
worked.
They didn't know that it worked. And so later on, scientists found out, well, I guess this is why it works.
Okay,
So
so
the
go ahead.
tryptophan is then made into serotonin, and that's where that comes from.
And concerning the gut-brain axis and the vagus nerve, how is the communication? Is it both ways, single, brain to gut, gut to brain?
Definitely both ways. Definitely both ways. The brain signals the gut in a lot of different ways. Like I said, it can shut down the pancreas completely. It can shut off your intestines. It can shut off the blood flow to the intestines, so things don't work very well. It's just like, oh, they're so closely connected. You can't separate them. Well, you can if you cut the vagus nerve, which has been people have done. Uh, People have had their vagus nerve cut for various reasons. One is because their brain is so nervous that they make too much acid. The stomach makes too much acid. If they cut the vagus nerve, that stops.
Fascinating. All right, let's talk about the microbiome in the gut, which is we hear about that everywhere now, which is a good thing. Wasn't so popular maybe even 5 years ago. But what is the relationship between someone who has type 2 with the microbiome and their blood sugar levels? Is there a relationship?
Um, there is definitely a relationship. Characterizing it is not so simple. So if you're eating a lot of sugar and protein or sugar and fat together, but with protein, and so you have sugar, fat, and protein, and those tend to be inflammatory because it's energy, and energy causes oxygen-free radicals, and that's what it does. So when you're eating a lot of those and they go into your gut, then it grows certain bacteria. And so you get more inflammation. And when you have more inflammation, then you're more insulin resistant. And so there's a lot of studies to show that if you can improve the gut flora, your inflammation goes down and your insulin resistance improves, or insulin sensitivity improves. So there's that connection. There's also the connection of the food itself. If you get a lot of prebiotics, that's the food that feeds the good bacteria. It's made into certain things that are called like butyrate and acetate. And acetate, we actually have a supplement of that, apple cider vinegar,
Mhm.
which is a short chain fatty acid, and it has an anti-inflammatory effect. And it's used for stopping the stomach from making too much acid without blocking the acid, but it has the effect of decreasing the inflammation to allow normal acid to be produced. But not just stomach acid, it's also affecting blood sugar itself. Your insulin sensitivity is better when you have higher levels of butyrate, acetate, and these short chain fatty acids. So there are a lot of connections between a lot of different um, ways of connecting the gut flora to diabetes type
I
2.
was I'm looking for I'll post it in a second. There we go. He was just talking about apple cider vinegar. That is in our supplement. Oh, sorry, I didn't realize I went off video. That's in our supplement Lean ACV. And if you so I just put that in the chat if you're interested in that. So when you see someone who comes in, because you see a lot of patients have type 2, and you're worried about their gut, what are some things that you recognize or are happening that you can tell someone's got gut issues and they were type 2 diabetic?
Well, actually, it's pretty easy because almost everybody's going to complain of it. They're going to say, "Oh, I have this terrible acid reflux," or if I eat, I feel bloated, or I get this abdominal pain, or chronic constipation, or I just had a colonoscopy and they said I have diverticulosis, or I've had diverticulitis, or chronic diarrhea problems. There are issues with the intestines, and when there's issue with the intestines, you got to find out why. That's important. Remember, this is your interface. This is your ability to rebuild your body, to repair your body, to improve the inflammation, to make everything work well. There are so many practitioners out there for many years in any type of the practice of medicine or healthcare, and most of them say if you don't improve the gut, your health will not improve. You have to fix the intestines first and then work on everything else. So one of the things in our diabetes solution kit that we do is we go through the you're going to get off sugar. Oh, that's so good. It's going to lower inflammation. And how do you get a lot of fiber? Well, we have this long list of free foods of you can eat anything. Yeah, there's meat on there and eggs and that kind of stuff. But there's also all the broccoli you want, all the lettuce you want, all the spinach you want, all the cauliflower, all these vegetables that are free foods that you can eat as much as you want. And why is that? Well, a lot of it was because we wanted a list of things that were going to improve the gut. We're going to give prebiotics to those good bacteria so that that would work better too.
All right, I'm putting the link for that in the chat in a second as well. All right, I want to ask about antibiotics. That is such the buzzword these days, not to take an antibiotic because it destroys your gut. What does the antibiotic do to your gut exactly? And then what happens if you do end up taking it? Do you take probiotics while you're on the antibiotic or after the antibiotic or both?
Ah, that's a good question. Okay, a lot of people ask that question. That is one of the FAQs that I get. Okay, so antibiotics kill bacteria. Antibiotics are not unique to the pill you take. Where did they come from? Well, mostly they came from other bacteria. So what I talked about, the war going on inside your
Mhm.
intestines of there's good bacteria, bad bacteria, they're fighting for dominance, world dominance in the colon. But they actually make the antibiotics. So the first one known was penicillin. And where did penicillin come from? Well, it's a penicillium yeast fungus. So the fungus was making this penicillin, which would prevent bacteria from growing, so that the yeast could eat up everything and prevent the bacteria. And so that's where a lot of the idea of antibiotic came from. And yes, they're being made in your colon. There are some of them are toxic to the body, like Clostridium makes some that are toxic to the body, will cause diarrhea and stuff and chronic problems. But one of the problems is that when they overgrow, they kill off all the other bacteria. And so when you take an antibiotic, you're killing off certain bacteria and not other bacteria. And that's the problem, is the has been thrown off. So if you take a broad spectrum antibiotic and you're killing all of your lactobacillus and your bifidobacterium, your E. coli, and what's left? Well, some bad bacteria that you don't want to be overgrown that are normally there are going to be able to proliferate and grow because all of those good bacteria are gone. And so, like Clostridium difficile is one of the problems there, because if that overgrows, it's really hard to get rid of. It causes chronic diarrhea. And some people have gone as far as having a complete um, a colon, what do they call it? Transplant, a bacteria transplant, microbiome transplant, where they kill off all the bacteria in the large intestine, and then they give you somebody else's uh, poop, right? Uh,
Don't
they
do
give
this on
you
your own.
they give you stool from a healthy person to replace that, and then start taking prebiotics to keep it growing. And sometimes that's the only way you can get rid of them after taking an antibiotic. So, yeah, you have to be careful. There was a study done on people taking an antibiotic with a probiotic at the same time. And the interesting thing about it is the antibiotics don't kill all of the bacteria. They decrease the numbers, but they're not like wiping out everything. And so it's changing the balance more than like getting rid of some entirely. And so if you take a probiotic with the bacteria, then you can allow the probiotic to continue to grow. I mean, with the antibiotic, you can allow the probiotic to continue to grow. And that's what you would want anyway. So I always tell my patients, start taking the probiotic now. If I'm
Mhm.
putting you on an antibiotic, start taking the probiotic now. Another study showed that the ones that are taking a probiotic with an antibiotic, their colon bacteria changes uh, because of that. But it's not changed for the worse. It's just different, which is actually a good thing anyway. You want to get rid of the bad bacteria that are there. So taking a probiotic with an antibiotic is a better choice.
Okay, so we're going to get to questions in a second, but if you're type 2, is there a probiotic that's better for them? Because there are probiotics everywhere. So are there any
Yeah.
strains that are better for someone who's got to reduce that inflammation and get their insulin resistance back in order?
Yeah. Lactobacillus and bifidobacterium are the two types of bacteria that are the most important for people with type 2.
Okay.
Because that's where you're going to get the butyrates, the short chain fatty acids that lower inflammation and improve insulin sensitivity.
All right. We have a question about leaky gut. Can you please tell us what blood tests are required for a leaky gut?
Okay, good question.
Mhm.
There's a test called zonulin, which gives you an idea of whether there's leaky gut or not. There's other tests that you can do where they give you certain types of sugar that are not normally absorbed, and then they measure them in the urine. And if you absorb a certain amount and it comes out in the urine, that means that your gut is leaky. And by leaky, that's literal. That means like normally there is a confluent layer of cells. And if there's gaps between the cells, then things from the bowel can leak into your blood. And that's where that comes from. Excuse me. Um, so so people with leaky gut do get things from their bowel leaking in where they're not supposed to. Um, that test, so the leaky gut test with the urine test where you take the hey, there's usually more than one sugar that you take, um, or the zonulin test. Those gives you ideas of what leaky gut is, or if you have leaky gut or not.
Hmm. And I think you've said in the past that the gut is one cell layer thick.
Yeah, one cell layer.
So what happens breaking that?
Yeah, so if all you have is one cell, like on your skin here,
Mhm.
I have hundreds of cells. So if I scratch off a couple of cells, pff, if I scratch off 10 layers of cells, who cares? 15, 20 layers of cells, who cares? But in your intestines, you scratch one layer of cells, then you've got leaky gut. You've got holes and things can leak into your body. So it's not a small thing. It's actually important.
And it seems like it's a lot more common these days. So what destroys the gut to make it leaky?
Um, Toxins,
Hmm.
anything that prevents those cells from repairing. So you're losing cells all the time. But then the cell next to it goes, oh, there's a gap here, and it divides and makes another cell. So then it fills in the gap. And then another gap, and then that one fills in the gap. And then they keep filling in. But what the interesting thing is they fill in when your stomach is empty.
Mm.
So people that were told that you should eat 5 small meals a day with snacks in between, so you never have an empty stomach, is the stupidest advice you could give to a human being. Well, I mean, well, jump off a bridge, I guess, would
Yeah,
be the
right.
worst, but
Follow the
but
crowd.
yeah, but it to eat continuously is to prevent your intestines from repairing. So allowing them to repair. Other people I found are sensitive to something called lectins. Lectins are proteins. It's the immune system of the plant that binds to the cells and prevents them from reproducing. So you end up with leaky gut. Um, and so there's whole programs on how to avoid lectins in people that have leaky gut and have that particular problem. I've found a few cases. I don't think it's that common, but that's another reason.
We have another question about gut problems, but this time it's related to the gallbladder. David Brown, a repeat customer from,
Yeah,
yeah, from Colombia.
Colombia.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I had a gallbladder issue a few years ago. He had it removed. Could that be related to gut problems?
Um, yes, definitely. Well, if you had your gallbladder removed, okay, so the gallbladder is a bladder, right? And it holds liquid called bile. the bile is necessary for you to be able to, it's like soap that
Mm,
makes your fat that you're eating soluble.
mm,
And it allows you to absorb the fat through the intestinal wall. That's the way fat is absorbed, and it goes into the lymph system, which then gets dumped directly into the blood. So those things, those fatty things, don't go through the liver to get processed. And the bile is what allows that to be absorbed. So if you are if your gallbladder is gone, then the bile is just being continuously made and just drip, 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 drip into your intestines all day long, all night long, all day long, all night long. And you eat fat, and you don't have a gallbladder that's full of bile to squeeze out and absorb all that fat, then you end up getting fat malabsorption, and you can get diarrhea, constipation, intestinal pain, bloating, all these problems associated with not being able to absorb your fat.
mm,
So that could be an issue. Another thing is those bile acids can be irritating to the tissues, and you can end up with leaky gut
mm.
because that bile is continuously going through your small intestine and not allowing them to repair and be one confluent layer.
So our this next question I think connects. Someone's on Ozempic, and I've heard that a lot of people who take Ozempic end up having their gallbladder removed. But this question is not about that. My doctor put me on Ozempic. Do I need to continue with my insulin? This is from James.
Okay. I don't know why your doctor didn't address that because I don't know if you're type 1 or type 2. If you're type 1, you definitely need to continue insulin. If you're type 2, you probably shouldn't be on insulin at all. So first thing to do is to get a test, four tests actually. Hemoglobin A1C, glucose, you've probably had those, and then get insulin and C-peptide and do them all at the same time so that you can look at the function of your pancreas. So if you have a high functioning pancreas where you have too much C-peptide and insulin, then you definitely should not be injecting insulin. If you have low insulin and high glucose, then you should find out why your pancreas is dysfunctional, and you may need to stay on the insulin.
Hmm, okay. Uh, so another question about the gut, I think. Can you please discuss hydrogen SIBO? Now, SIBO is small intestinal bacterial overgrowth.
Yeah.
What is hydrogen SIBO?
There's different types of bacteria, and some bacteria make methane, some make hydrogen. And so the hydrogen SIBO is you have certain bacteria growing in your small intestine, and those are the ones that make hydrogen. So you tend to get more bloating, gas pains, gas from the small intestine if you have that kind. Um, I think in my experience, the way I address that is it doesn't matter. In the old days, it used to matter because you would use certain antibiotics to get rid of the hydrogen SIBO as opposed to the methane. But today, it's done differently because we don't use antibiotics for that anymore. What you need to do instead is to clean out the small intestine. And it's the same kind of thing as you don't feed the bacteria. So you get off the foods that feed that bacteria would be the best way to do that. And so there are certain diets you can do. I have found fasting to be the most useful. And then, so people fast for a period of time, about 3 days. And that prevents those bacteria from growing because they're not being fed. It also gives time for your small intestine to clean out. Okay, so we're talking about the nervous system of the small intestine, you guys. This is
Mhm.
crazy. This is crazy interesting. So your small intestine is normally sterile.
Mm.
Like there's no SIBO at all. No small intestine bacteria. Like after you use a hand wash that's antibacterial, you have more bacteria, 10 times more bacteria on your hands per square millimeter than you do in your small intestine. Uh,
How is
it's
that possible?
it's clean because have you ever heard like gurgle, gurgle, gurgle when you don't
Hmm.
eat? You have gurgling. You know what's happening is your small intestine is dumping gallons of fluid into your intestines and
Oh,
scrubbing and scrubbing and scrubbing that intestine and then pushing it all down and it all goes down into the large intestine. So all those bacteria that you ate go into the large intestine, and that's what the large intestine does is it manages all those bacteria and things. The small intestine doesn't have bacteria in it normally,
mm,
and so that scrubbing process can be stopped by eating. And
mm.
so people who eat every time they're hungry, they don't clean out their intestines. So if you have SIBO, one of the important things to do is to leave space between your meals. So if you need about 5 hours between meals. So, if you eat breakfast at like 7 o'clock and then you eat lunch at like 1 o'clock and then you eat dinner at like 6 o'clock, you've had 5 hours between every meal and you've given time for your stomach to empty, for everything to go down to your large intestine and your small intestine to scrub and scrub and scrub and clean it all out so that you don't get SIBO.
So you want that stomach growling is what you're saying.
Yeah, that's important.
All right.
And the reason people have always said it's bad is because it comes with hunger. So, oh, I'm hungry and my stomach is growling. I better eat something. No, 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 that's not what it means. You're hungry because you're making ghrelin. Ghrelin is repairing your small intestine and cleaning it out. And so the cleaning, repairing has to happen. Leave that alone. That's actually good.
Mhm. Sometimes my husband's stomach will growl, and then my stomach will respond with more growling. Talking to each other through our stomach. All right. Someone says, could you please repeat the information about eating fats and sugar together? Does that mean you should not eat oil or butter on your bread? Ugh.
I don't, you know what? That's something that I would have a hard time with because
Yeah.
I love butter in my bread. Especially toast with a lot of butter on it is like so good. So,
Homemade
um,
bread.
but actually, if you look at it, yes, if somebody has type 2 especially, and they're insulin resistant, then mixing fat and sugar together is a no-no. It is really bad. So ice cream is the single worst thing a diabetic can eat. A type 2 can eat because that's going to make you more insulin resistant than anything else. And people think, well, I won't have ice cream. I'll have this coconut ice cream. Sorry, the coconut oil has a whole bunch of fat in it too. So it's the mixture of fat and sugar together that's the problem. So the bread and butter thing, well, actually, if you have type 2 and you are on the diabetes solution kit, it would not allow you to have even a slice of bread because you're only allowed 20 grams of carbs in phase one. And one slice of bread is usually more than that.
Hmm. Fun times, but you're going to get healthy if you follow the diabetes solution kit. A lot of these problems are going to resolve itself.
Yeah.
All right, Cynthia has a good question. How much is too much vitamin B12? Is 1,000 micrograms too much? I saw a 10-year study where over 55 micrograms caused cancer, specifically lung cancer. What? Yeah.
I'm not aware of the study. 55 micrograms. Ah, man, the studies that are done, I would have to analyze it because I know of some studies. For example, there was one on um, vitamin E and heart disease, and they used a form of vitamin E that blocks vitamin E. It's a L form, L alpha tocopherol, that blocks the real vitamin E that comes from food, which is D-alpha tocopherol. And so they said, oh, they got more heart disease when they took vitamin E. But it was because they used a form that was a negative form, a backwards form of of vitamin E. So the idea of vitamin B12, lung cancer, I'm not aware of it, but I don't know what they would have used for that. And I don't know if that was a well done study or not. But anyway, the point of the question is how much is too much?
Mhm.
And enough is enough. More than enough is more than you need is potentially toxic. And so I don't think uh, that you need high doses. I have one person in 30 years that has to get shots every week because she does not absorb vitamin B12. And we measure her levels, and if she is not getting shots, it just plummets. So there are some people that need pretty high doses and can't take it orally. People that have had small intestines removed, like that 18-inch portion that I talked about, if they've had that removed, then they have to get shots and they have to get pretty high doses too. So, how much is too much? I don't know. I allow when I do tests, people that are over 1,000, they're fine. I tell them, just take vitamin B12 once a week, because you don't need more than that.
Yeah, it's not a common problem to have low
Yeah.
vitamin B12. So Elaine wants to know how much calcium does one really need?
Okay. Calcium is abundant. It's in food. It's everywhere. You can't avoid it. Our problem is not whether we're getting calcium in our food. Our problem is whether we can absorb it or not.
Mhm.
And so really, if you look at vitamin D for absorption, you're better off getting vitamin D for absorption and not taking calcium. There was one study in women that were taking 1 gram of calcium a day, and they started getting calcium deposits in their arteries. So they're getting hardening of the arteries because of this calcium supplementation. Now, a caveat to that, it wouldn't happen if they get enough vitamin K. Vitamin K takes the calcium out of soft tissues and puts it in the bones. So there's so many, the body is so amazing. But just partly because of that, taking extra calcium, I don't recommend. I recommend magnesium because it's hard to get. Calcium is abundant, and you don't need to get that. And then taking magnesium, vitamin D, and vitamin K. Those three would be primary for preventing osteoporosis.
Okay, I just want to mention this and then get to our promo code. This is Tom from Eugene. I'm on the third day of my 3-day fast. The last thing I ate was dinner after church at Outback. My next meal will be breakfast tomorrow. Thanks, Dr. Saunders, for giving me the inspiration to fast.
Oh, you're welcome, but I'd rather know the results.
Come back next week and let us know how it
Okay.
went.
Yeah.
And then we're going to give a coupon code for Healthy Gut Restore. And I would love for you to plug why someone, either type 2 or not, should even consider taking Healthy Gut Restore.
Okay. So we've been talking about the intestines and how they work, and the nervous system of the intestines and the bacteria and all that. This is not a fix for everything, but they're common things that are common. And just because they're common, what are you going to do? Well, it's not that everybody should take this, but if you're having any issues with your intestines, if you have bad bacteria in your intestines, even if you just have diabetes, what Healthy Gut Restore has is number one, enzymes. Enzymes are so important for your absorption. Like I said, everything has to be broken down into its individual parts and then absorbed through your intestines, and then your body can use it. If it doesn't get broken down, it goes through and you do not get that nutrient. You don't get it. And as we age, um, our stomach makes less acid and enzymes. Our pancreas makes less. Our bile acids are not working as well. We get secondary bile acids mostly. So our ability to digest and absorb food it goes down, and especially proteins. So as we age, what happens to our hair? Well, it turns white, but that's because of stress. Uh, but it gets thin and stringy. Why? Because we don't have enough protein. Fingernails start splitting and you start having problems with fingernails. Why? Not enough protein. The skin gets super thin and like tears when you just brush by something. Why? Because not enough protein. Protein is like really important, and we get less as we age, and a lot of that is due to digestion. So the enzymes help that. The other thing it has is probiotics. We talked about how important that is. And these are the type of probiotics that are for decreasing inflammation. But then it also has the prebiotics, which is the food for those probiotics, so they're going to actually work and grow in your intestines. So I have had gosh, the first time I gave it to somebody, I had samples in my office. I gave it to somebody, and she came back and she said, "Wow, I've tried a whole bunch of other samples. This is the first time my intestines are working."
Mm.
And it was from Healthy Gut Restore, and I've had a lot of people since then say it helps a lot.
Yeah, so we're having a special deal for the webinar attendees. So if you, I'm putting a code in the chat right now. If you use the code gut check, you're going to get 25% off. We've already discounted it on the store from $44 to $44. So you'll get another 25% off, which is $11. So you're going to get a steal on this. And if you've listened today and have thought, and if anything has made any sense to you, and you need help with your gut, please take advantage of this offer. We want to help you. So there's the link. You can use it to purchase right away with a coupon code, or you can just keep cut check in the back pocket. I think I'm going to leave it open for a couple of days, but so thank you, Doctor. So you can use that. So thank you, Dr. Saunders. It looks like he has to
You're
run.
welcome.
Thank you.
Bye.
Yeah. So yes, for anybody else who's still here, thank you for waiting. Use code GUTCHECK and you'll get 25% off Healthy Gut Restore. Hopefully you guys will take advantage of this wonderful offer. If there's any other question I can help, I'll stick around for another moment or two. If you have any customer service questions, I'd be happy to help you. I saw another question come through. Oh, Tim, you replied you've lost 8 pounds so far. He's the one that's fasting, and fasting blood sugar went down from 124 to 130, 103. Now, if that isn't a testimonial, I don't know what is. Thank you for sharing that with us, Tom. And now I understand why you are so thankful for Dr. Saunders recommending it. It does have powerful effects, not just for your gut to fast, which we've talked about today, but as a result, your blood sugar as well. So congratulations. So Joey F says, will the discount code be available all weekend? I say let's do yes, Joey F. All weekend. So all this week and through Sunday night, use the code GUTCHECK for 25% off. Let me see if there's any other questions I can answer. I'm on my phone. Where's the link? The link is in the chat. I think I can just type that answer to you as well, Chris, and you'll have the link. If you miss the link, no worries. You can just go to our website and check, just put gut check into the coupon code when you're checking out. And yeah, let me get that copied for you again. Chris, I'm sending that to your way right now. Hopefully you'll get that answer. Um, I'm going to post it again in the chat so you guys have that available. No link, it's there. If you can't find the link, go to our website, Find Healthy Gut, then just use the code GUTCHECK to get 25% off at checkout. So this will be available through Sunday night, let's say. Anything else I can help you with? Oh, you know what? I must have sent it to the hosts and panelists. Ah, My bad. I'm sorry. Thank you, Joey F, for pointing that out. It should be available for everyone now. Joe, can you see that? Yep. All right. Thank you for your patience with that. If you need any help, you can email us at support@bartonpublishing.com. We will have that coupon code ready for you if you didn't get it available today, or give us a call. We'll have that also on the phone for you and help you place an order for whatever you need. All right, lovely people. Hope you guys come back next week where we'll talk to Dr. Saunders about a whole new subject, which I'm sure all of you will enjoy. All right, take care. Bye, all.